Welcome, everybody. It's the news segment, April 29th, 2022. Craft beer news here at Better on Draft. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Know what I just realized? If you're watching the video, which if you're not, go to YouTube and check out our videos. We have all of our both news and interviews on there. But I feel like there's just a bunch of blank space here on my right-hand side, and I think I got to fill it up with something. So we got 2 weeks. We're going to be off next week. So maybe over the next week and a half, I will figure something out. But let's go over and find out what everybody is drinking, starting with Wendy. Wendy, what do you got up there?
So I am here in beautiful Ludington, Michigan. So I am drinking a Ludington Bay Brewing Company, The Booty. It is a barrel-aged stout with a dark chocolate in it, and I'm loving it.
One of my favorite places to visit that has a very sneaky good brewery, and that's Jamesport. I went there 2020. Shit. Wow, it's been that long. That's when I threw out my back. I went there in 2020, and I remember going in there. First of all, they had an alt beer, an English mild, and an ESB. So I was in fucking heaven.
I can imagine.
But secondly,
I'm actually having brunch there on Sunday.
Definitely take a photo of their beer list. I don't remember if they were doing flights. It was like peak 2020 COVID, therefore they might have changed rules. But yeah, we had the opportunity to go. We ate there. It was a great place. Definitely suggestion from me here. I mean, Michigan's got amazing breweries and for both food and beer. But yeah, that's, some things that stick out, and that's one of them. But Dan, what do you got over there?
I'm still working on this wonderful Bud Light Next that I cracked open.
You're working on it. Not a fan?
No, I actually love it. I was just, I got the vodka soda going on too. So,
all right. So for me, I'm pulling a Nick here.
Oh boy!
Because during the first segment, I had the Exhibit A, the Briefcase Porter.
It's a good beer.
And after that was finished, I didn't mention it, but I had from the Propagator, another previous guest, the Cookie Monster.
Nice.
And now I cracked open just because I saw it in my fridge, and I realized there's so many beers in my fridge from September 2021 till now. This was from my trip to Vermont, Queen City Brewery's Oktoberfest. So that'll be a fun beer.
Nice end of April sipping beer right there.
Just in case, I did grab I have no idea how the fuck you're going to pronounce it, but it's from a brewery that I can't even pronounce either, but it's an alt beer. So there's like an umlaut over the O, so it's like JRON, so Droon maybe, I don't know. You know what I should do? I should just send this to Linus over at Three Gatos, and I'm sure one of the languages he speaks, because I'm pretty sure he speaks English, Portuguese, and German, could figure out something with that. But that is what I have. I got a comment from a fan of the show. And a fan
we have fans?
We do have fans. And
I meet them every now and then.
They said that they love the split of the news because then they can, listen to the news when they want to listen to the news or listen to the interview. But they said that we go so fast from introducing beers to going into the news that there's no buffer. And they want a buffer. Now, usually our buffer was, here is Robert with the beer news. I should do my own voiceovers. Why pay a guy on Fiverr? Fuck. I mean, we've been paying this guy for 7 years, but no. So I think we need to reach out to our fans. And if anyone is interested in writing like a 10-second jingle, and or doing a voiceover and wants to participate and wants to be part of Better on Draft, I'm sure, if you're interested, we will pay you. We're not here looking for something for free. I'm here to support the local arts community. So if you are a fan of the show, you love craft beer, you love Better on Draft, or at least just love craft beer, you don't necessarily have to love us, and want to make a jingle for us that introduces, a little buffer between us talking about the beer we're drinking and the news, why don't you reach out to us, betterondraft@gmail.com. But with that in mind, here is your quick non sequitur into the news segment. But I want to start off with Wendy. Wendy, what's the news you want to chat about today?
Sorry, I'm not chugging a beer. So I found an article about a beer shortage caused by the Molson Coors strike in Quebec. The bar owners there are freaking out a little bit because the strike by the workers at the Molson Coors plant in Quebec has the bar owners association saying that some of their members are about to run dry. I don't know if you know this. I know we've talked a little bit about crazy beer laws, but they are not allowed to sell beer in bars that were produced to sell in grocery stores. So if they can't get the beer from their distributors, they can't go to the local corner store and pick beer up to sell at their locations. So they are calling on the provincial government to ease restrictions on beer sales and let them buy beers from other retail outlets for resale at their saloons. I think it's funny that they use saloon in the article because I didn't know we had those anymore.
I wonder if that's like a legal term based on like what liquor laws what liquor licenses you own.
Okay, so we still use it. We just don't use it publicly.
I mean, that's my guess. You know, when you're using a phrase like saloon and you're not referencing Back to the Future 3.
Well, yeah, come on out to Arizona. We got more than a few saloons you could go to.
I'm sure.
Do they call themselves saloons?
Oh, yeah. There's quite a few.
I think we only got was it Diamondback Saloon? Is that the one from Belleville?
So
was that when X-Pac was dancing in the ring? I mean, yes. Is that the same thing?
Is it the name of the location, or do they actually, is it like you are telling your friend, let's go to a saloon?
That's a good question. I don't know if anyone uses that word, but
they use it in the name.
In the name, yeah.
So Frederick, I'm going to butcher this name like crazy. Frederick Bourgeois LeBlanc, a spokeswoman for Molson Coors, where 420 workers have been on strike at the new plant on Montreal's South Shore since March 25th, says a contingency plan to deliver products to clients is underway and that the door remains open for negotiations with the Teamsters Union. So I just found it interesting that there is a beer shortage happening in Canada.
Dan?
Yeah. So I was just like, oh, great. Where are they going to get all their Molson Canadian from now? Especially with the hockey playoffs about to start next week. I mean, everyone's going to be kind of mad. It's not like Montreal has to worry about that, but that sucks. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, it'd be bad if they had to go to the stores anyways to buy it. That's just going to jack up the prices even more if they had to go to the grocery store to buy beer. So I'm kind of glad they don't have to do that. But
is Quebec is this full control province like Ontario is?
I'm pretty sure. Not entirely sure, but it sounds like it. But are they the only beer producers? Does everyone really only drink like Labatt Blue? Like up there, is this like a real thing? Like I know we joke about Canadians, but is there nowhere else or any other kind of beer they can get?
Well, if the Molson Coors plant in Canada, I think in Canada covers Molson, Coors, Miller. That might include Labatt, Budweiser. Like I don't know who owns who where, but in some places of the world, Molson, Coors, Busch, Bud, Miller, all of them are owned by the same company. Labatt, Corona, like at some point AB InBev owns it. Where and how, I don't know. But the first thing to talk about is the fact that they're kind of like handcuffed because obviously beer is allocated from one place to another, and if they have beer shipped to off premise and they need it on premise, they need to work on something a little bit more, kind of like what we did here in Michigan, where we kind of relaxed laws or didn't enforce laws. But like here in Michigan, you can still go to the store to buy things, but it's a limited amount. So if you're going like a bar, what's a local bar near me? MASH, brand new bar up in Ypsi. If MASH went to Total Wine and bought a whiskey, they're allowed to, but they can only buy so many liters per quarter or liters per year. So I'm guessing either the amount of beer that they need is way more than what's available to them, or Yeah.
So according to this article, they're marked differently, and they can be fined for selling beers that are marked for sale in retail shops.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So, and it does seem to be provincial, because there was another spot in the article where they talked about they are trying to work with other provinces to be able to bring beer in.
I mean, there's got to be other sources of beer, though, I would think, that they could get. Is there a distributor like, oh, sorry, guys, all our beer comes from Molson Coors. We don't have anything else. I'm like, it's hard to believe that there isn't anything else they could get in there.
Well, I'm sure there's other beers that they could get, but my experience from my Canadian family is that's what they're drinking. And they think it's better than anything else. And they will let you know every chance they get.
Yeah, that's something I can think of with Canadians. They're always like, well, our version of Budweiser is better because it's 1% stronger.
I was going to say, yeah, they only
I've heard that so many times.
They only think Canadian beer is better because it has more ABV.
My 80-year-old aunt told me that. It was awesome.
Now, mind you, I will most likely go for a Molson or a Labatt over a Bud, Miller, Coors if given the opportunity. But with this, I mean, I'm trying to think of what the discussion, because imagine, if you will, just AB InBev. So let's keep, Miller Coors off the table. AB InBev in Michigan. Like, if you couldn't serve AB InBev at, say, the Mad Club over at Madison Heights, which is, definitely a blue collar dive bar. So you're losing a lot of your beer to where it could cause issues, because if somebody goes to the bar and they want Miller Lite, and Miller Lite or Labatt or Molson is not available, you're like, what the fuck? So
yeah, you can't get that triple hop goodness. I mean, might as well just leave. I have a friend
that will only drink Bud Light. She refuses to drink anything else.
Our old friend Pat Specky would only drink Budweiser, so I get it.
Yeah, I think it's just there's definitely a lot of probably red tape in the province that have caused an issue, and to be honest, it probably only will benefit Molson Coors to be able to be allowed to like fix the laws later by fixing whatever they can to be able to distro them, because maybe Molson Coors will be the only one that can break these laws. I mean, that's my guess.
I'm interested. I'll definitely keep up on it, though.
For sure. Well, let's keep in the world of legalities, but let's bring it back to the states. So there's a very interesting legal battle going on in Minnesota. So for those of you that don't know, Minnesota is still the only 3-2 state in the country. What is a 3-2 state? A 3-2 state means that beer in grocery stores cannot be higher than 3.2%, which means that any local brewery or any brewery that wants to sell in that state at a grocery store needs to create a 3.2 version. As they are the only state left, a lot of breweries, and we're talking major breweries, Budweiser, Miller, Coors, are no longer making the 3.2 versions of their beer. This is going to cause an issue, but this is a law regarding the craft beer that we're about to discuss, and that Minnesota, just like having that weird archaic 3.2 law, is one of the states that does not allow for to-go beer in all of their breweries. So they have a law and legislation to raise the volume cap. So for breweries over 20,000, they want to raise it to 150,000. Now, this number is pretty arbitrary, as no brewery has hit 150,000 in the state of Minnesota. With Summit Brewing, who was our guest, episode 271, having the most at 128,000 in 2019. There's an agreement going on between the Wholesalers Association and the Minnesota Craft Brewers Association, or Brewers Guild, requiring in this agreement a 5-year pause on any future law changes, which means literally no other law regarding the distribution of craft beer or craft beer in general can be made. The Commerce Committee passed the bill in the Minnesota House of Representatives and mentioned that this is the furthest any liquor legislation has been made in over a decade. Wholesalers obviously protecting their interests, brewers asking to do things that we in Michigan, and I assume Arizona, find as normal, like a growler to go. Should the Minnesota Craft Brewers Guild sell the next 5 years down the road for a win today, even though they have not had a win in over 10 years for legislation?
So here, I'm glad you brought up Arizona real quick. I want to touch on something. We do have a strange law here. You can't sell liquor out of any premises that's within 250. I think it's 250. It might be a little different. Within 250 or so feet of a church. So there's a brewery right down the street from me that is next door to a storefront church, and they can't sell anything to go out of their premises because of it.
They can't sell so they can be open next to a church, but they can't sell to go next to a church.
Correct. I'm not sure if they're expecting people to come in there like with a growler to drink during service, but yeah, they can't sell anything to go because of the location of the church next to them.
Is that a brewery or is that a liquor?
I don't know if it's specific. I only know because of the brewery, but they can't sell out of there because of that storefront church next to them.
I'd be curious if it was like you can't sell alcohol within 250 feet of a church, and therefore the brewery has to follow the rule that way.
So Michigan's special liquor licenses for like nonprofits, when they're running a beer tent at a festival or at a Vegas night or something like that, they have to get approval from a church if they're within so many feet of the church in order to have that liquor license.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, all those types of Vegas tents and stuff, I always just assign it with a church because usually it's that church over in St. Clair Shores. I can't think of the name of. It's a huge festival every year too. St. Anne,
Is it Catholic or Lutheran?
I have no idea. I never went there for church services, that's for sure.
I just looked up the law. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off here.
No, you're fine.
Within 300 feet of a church, and it's all liquor, beer, whatever it is.
Yeah,
they
so
can't sell within.
You can't sell to go.
Yeah.
Take out. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, It doesn't make sense. It makes sense.
It really doesn't. I mean,
Well, the way you presented
it doesn't. We're supposed to have a separation between church and state.
The
There's
way
no
you
reason
said
we
it,
should have a liquor law because of a church.
The way you said it, though, made it sound like breweries specifically.
Oh, gotcha. Because that's the only example I knew. Yeah, it's all liquor. So you're right. And that's the one example I've ever come across. But I mean, yeah, you're right. I can't leave with a beer at 10 o'clock at night to take home because, Bob's like pop-up Sunday mass happens one day a week on Sunday. Like, come on.
But here's the question though is that the Wholesalers Association of Minnesota is going to allow this law, which is huge because the big thing, I remember my dad actually went into Surly Brewing on one of his motorcycle trips to bring me home beer, and they said we can't allow beer to go, and it was very confusing because I had beer to go from other breweries in Minnesota, not realizing that they were above the 20K mark. So it's just, and this, we're talking like cans. They can't sell cans out of the house. Like they can't sell, like their distro cans cannot be sold at Surly.
So where do you buy craft beer in Minnesota? It's always kind of confused me. Like, where do you go to get it?
I mean, I would assume the breweries, that are under 20K. I mean, there's only like 6 breweries under 20 or over 20K.
Oh, gotcha. So the majority of them could sell out, but
yeah.
I wish I could remember the name of the supermarket that we went to that had the alcohol in a whole separate section that was like, it was like Total Wine attached to a grocery store. It was kind of awesome.
Well, I thought when you said separate section, I thought you were talking like the back part of a family video.
Well, kind of. It was its own little
gotta go through the
area.
curtain.
Like you had your own separate entrance, but then you could get into the actual grocery store if you wanted to, but you had to buy your liquor or your beer and liquor in a separate place.
Well, there's in Vermont, I believe we were in Vermont when I purchased a lot of these beers. There was a combination, and I emphasize the phrase combination liquor and beer store, because you had to, if you walked in, you went to the left, you went to the beer store, you went to the right, you went to the liquor store, and they weren't together. You couldn't buy them together. You had to cash out to go to the other one. And it was a whole process to be able to go and buy liquor and beer at the store. So things that, again, we find as quote unquote normal here in Michigan are not. But I'm going to bring it back to the conversation and ask you guys, do you think if you're a state, you're Michigan, you're Minnesota, you have not had any alcohol related law changes in a decade, and you have this one right now where it's only going to affect 6 breweries really, but it's going to allow for like draft beer, it's going to allow for no more red tape. So you don't have to worry about, do you go over the cap of 20K and fuck yourselves over? You haven't done it for 10 years. You have to sign off for 5 years saying, I am not going to lobby for any other laws. I mean, do you do it?
It's a tough question. I mean, that guarantees the 3-2 law for at least 5 more years.
Yep.
That's a tough question.
Well, that guarantees that nobody will lobby to change the 3-2 law. That doesn't mean that, some Cory Booker, no, that he's not a governor. Who's the governor of Minnesota? I don't know.
Is it Jesse Ventura still?
No, I don't think so.
Surprised he didn't change that.
Is it just the 3-2 law that they're trying to keep him from lobbying against?
No.
Actually, you know what? I don't even care. Fuck right off. Are you kidding me? You cannot tell me because I think this law should be changed. I can't lobby for a different law to be changed. Who the hell are you? I elected you. Why are you telling me I can't lobby for a different law to be changed? That's bullshit, and they should not accept that. That's my opinion.
I mean, if Utah can get rid of the 3-2 law, why can't Minnesota? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Now, if we can get them to pour draft beer in Utah, it'd be a whole different story.
That is the lawmakers telling their people what they can and cannot do without their input. Fuck off.
Well, no, it's not the lawmakers. It's the Wholesalers Association.
The Wholesalers Association is saying that if they agree to this, who wrote the law?
So it would be the Minnesota Craft Brewers Guild lobbied to get this law changed. The Wholesalers Association said we will be on board because they need their onboardness, simply because of whatever legalities or issues that come with editing the wholesale and distribution of beer. So you're changing those rules. You're going to need buy-in from this group, or they're going to attempt to. You're either going to come in together and say, hey, we want to change this law. Nobody doesn't want to change this law. This law will be changed. You know what I mean? Like you have both parties that were fighting against each other coming in and saying, please change this law. It will only help you with taxes. So Minnesota lawmakers will sign it. But if the Brewers Guild doesn't sign this 5-year agreement, then the wholesalers will lobby against it.
Same thing. In my opinion. So it's not a lawmaker. I still say no. So when I went to Alaska, when I went to a brewery, I could only have so many ounces of beer. But if I went to the bar down the street, I could have as many pints as I wanted. So basically what that Wholesalers Association is saying is that they're trying to cap any law changes. Like that's ridiculous. For 5 years? No, ridiculous.
Again, though, it's been 2012 since the last law has changed in Minnesota regarding beer. Well,
they need to look at who they're electing then. I'm just saying.
I mean, I can't deny it. I'm just saying, like, my whole discussion is that, you haven't done anything for 10 years. You have the opportunity to do something now. But then
you have to wait 5 years before you can do anything else. And you're only benefiting 6 people, 6 groups. That's it.
6 brewers.
No, 6 brewers. I understand that. And I appreciate the fact that they might need this change. But what else could you be capping? Like, what are they trying to keep them from doing by saying you can't make any more changes for 5 years? That you can't lobby for anything new? That's what I want to know. What are they trying to keep them from doing by making that type of stipulation?
It'll affect their bottom line. That's all it is. And just for people playing at home, I did pull it up. It's 4 brewers, not 6, my bad. Castle, Danger, Fulton, Surly, and Summit. Those are the 4 breweries that will be affected by this law. There's a lot of intricacies about like draft beer to go and cans to go and all that stuff that other breweries will be able to get away with, but not get away with. I feel like you're doing something wrong.
Legally?
Yeah, do legally. Yeah. But yeah, it's just so weird to see how in Michigan, like how we were upset about so many laws and how laws changed. Like, for example, the Sunday sales law or the Christmas Eve law, like these things changed not even like a decade ago. And now we're looking at other states, and when we look at states, and I would consider Minnesota a fairly progressive state, regarding its politics, and it just blows my mind that there's a lot of corporate oversight of the government. Speaking of corporate oversight of the government, Dan, what's your article?
Yeah, this is a fun one. This actually came out a couple of weeks ago. I just happened to come across it today. But this is getting into a shortage type of situation too. So Russian brewers have asked their agriculture ministry to help them find ways to replace imported hops in the next few years as they fear shortages. As you know, hops are essential flavoring ingredient. Russian-owned brewers import actually 98% of the 7,000 to 7,500 tons that they use every year, mainly from Germany, Czech Republic, and the United States. And they're on top of that looking at they're going to have an even higher demand for their beer. As it turns out, Carlsberg and Heineken are both planning on exiting from the Russian market. So where do you think this leads them? Beer is a pretty integral thing there. They did have an issue with a lot of alcoholism. They have combated that. But, they're about to be in a situation where they're not going to be able to make anything really outside of a Groot, if I'm saying that correctly, the hopless beer, if I'm remembering that as well. And what do? Do we need to find ways, the beer industry need to find ways to help this? Because, they're kind of getting punished for things they don't really have control over. And it could collapse possibly an entire industry when it comes to beer. So I was curious on the thoughts from both of you of what really needs to be done or what can be done to help them out in this type of situation.
I was thinking the latitude of Russia, you should be able to grow some hops. And then I realized that you need about 3 years to...
Yeah, it takes about 3 years
to mature the plants to be able to start taking them. So really, it doesn't help them right now, which is the need that they want right now.
So their brewers have asked the government to support them in establishing their own hop growing, but that does take time. We're talking at least 3 years, and who else knows what kind of bureaucracy they would have to go through to do that.
Didn't we just have an article a couple weeks ago where barley was one of the crops from, was it barley or
I know what you're talking about,
or something.
One of those from
Russia. Couldn't they trade those for hops?
Well, the problem is you have countries not wanting to work with them. I mean, you could try to trade that all day, but if the U.S. won't trade it with them, it's going to make it a rough situation.
Yeah, if I'm calling Russia like persona non grata for trade, like I'm not, as much as I want barley, I'm gonna, I can go and get barley some other way. Whereas hops definitely, if nobody is sending you a ingredient and it's an ingredient that takes time to make, like I don't think there's anything that they can do about it. Like these brewers are probably going to be a little bit more SOL to where they just need to potentially close up shop or
Maybe they need to make some changes so that people will start trading with them again.
Well,
the problem is they don't have a say. Yeah, we're not talking about the government. We're talking about the brewers. I mean, just like if we had our government doing something, we wouldn't have a say in it either. So it really comes down to that.
Yeah, it would be a lot like we're just gonna make things up, folks. Again, it's not a political show, but I'm trying to make a point here. But it would be exactly like say a president invaded a foreign country that started with the letter A and ends in Afghanistan, and all the countries did not want that to happen and therefore banded against it. And say a country like Mexico was like, you know what, fuck you. And now we have an avocado shortage. I really try to make it very random and didn't choose any country specifically.
I mean, is there not a country called Afghanistan? I mean,
no. Well, there is no country called Afghanistan that led us to invade Afghanistan for then Mexico to ban its avocado importing.
Just give us a middle finger and no more guacamole for you. But yeah, it's the same type of thing.
But that's the thing is that they're just, I would have no control over, say the president, I'll make him up like Borge, you Gush or something. I don't know. I have no control over his decisions to do something like that. So I as a business in the country, am going to get penalized for just living here.
That's what I was getting at. So these brewers are suffering, and it really could cause a collapse when it comes down to it, especially if other European brewers are pulling out of there. I mean, Heineken's a huge brewer that side of the world. Carlsberg, another one. So it could end up where there's just no beer or very limited amounts. I mean, does North Korea brew beer that they could import? I'm not quite sure, but
I know North
maybe
Korea
China
does have China, you could probably grab snow. They could probably send snow.
Oh, that's right.
The production of snow is huge. And China could then import beer to make up for snow, or ask Budweiser to brew more because Budweiser's got a Beijing brewery out there. So there could be some roundabout ways for let's just use the country of Russia, not the government of Russia, in the conversation. But there could be a way for Russia to work around it so that it's consumers in the country who have no other choice but to be in the country because that's just where they live, to drink their beer. But it still blows my mind that with all that space that there's no good hop agriculture in there because they are in the proper latitude of hop growing.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different story why they've never put that together, but it is what it is now, and it'll take them years if they decide to.
Maybe we can see some good out of this at the end. And in 2025, we have some really awesome random Russian hops that appear.
Could be.
And then nobody knows how to pronounce the names because, when
It'd be a whole lot of fun to talk about them, though.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, when we're doing episode, we'll be around 450 at that point, 400, 450, talking about the influx of Russian hops to make Russian IPAs.
See, they should just name them after Soviet premiers. You have the Lenin hop, you have the Stalin hops, the Khrushchev. Those are the strong ones. They bomb your mouth with the hop taste. Ken's reaction.
Oh, Dan.
I mean, you could at least do what's the Russian player? Spassky? The chess person.
I was like, player of what?
I guess that's a fair. They got ballet, they got hockey. I'm sure we could at least name it after likable people.
Figure skating.
I mean, I don't know. After the 2002 Olympics or whatever.
We're talking about Nancy Kerrigan right now?
No, I'm talking about the...
She's American.
Oh,
It was an American.
There was like
my knowledge of figure skating.
there was a figure skating incident at the Olympics where like the Russians paid off a French judge or something like that.
Oh, that's incredible too. I like this story.
I like the details are very vague in my head, but I remember it was like Russian, or they like made the Canadian scores worse or something like that. It was mixed figure skating. I remember that. It was the Olympics, and it was Russia. France was involved, I think. Canada was involved.
I feel like there's a Lifetime movie about it.
I'm sure. Waiting for the Netflix series.
Next year.
I did see there is a Russian covert spy series on Netflix. What are you guys watching before we go? What are you guys watching on the streams?
Just started watching the last episodes of Ozark today. Just dropped this morning.
I have not gotten into Ozark yet. I am hopefully going to get in there soon, as I am running out of things to watch, and we're about to hit the summer.
And of course, you have Better Call Saul's coming out every week right now, too, for its last season. Just an amazing show. If you haven't watched it.
I got to try it again. I didn't like it the first season and a half, but I've heard I've heard so many good things, Daniel, that I'm going to give it a shot. It was the exact same for me when
Breaking Bad.
Like, I didn't like the middle of the second season. I'm like, this is god awful.
The closer Better Call Saul gets to the Breaking Bad timeline, the better it gets. I'll tell you that. So as it gets more towards the end, it gets that much better. It's worth checking out if you can get through it.
So the show I was talking about was called In From the Cold on Netflix. Really good, campy Russian spy. Like, it doesn't take itself seriously, but it's a very, very good show. Like, it's not a comedy, but it's not like super serious. What about you, Wendy? What are you watching?
So Graham is currently watching Heartland, which apparently has like 30 seasons to it.
16, I believe, and my mother.
I'm pretty sure we've been watching it for like 6 months. Which it's a good show. It's fun. You know what's going to happen every single week, but it's still good to watch. Wholesome. She likes it. I personally am obsessed with. Right now, I'm on season 2 of How to Get Away with Murder.
Okay, a little Shonda Rhimes.
So I thought that was a very interesting one. I never know what's going to happen. I like all the little twists and turns, and it's fun. I like it. I mean, it's not fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm going to, after this show tonight, finish Moon Knight. What a shocker of an amazing series, for sure. One,
is it good?
If you like Marvel, you're going to love it. 2, if you love Stargate, you're going to love it just because of the Egyptian lore that you're getting into. If you're looking for something stupid fun, though, Murderville on Netflix.
I thought you were about to say Murder, She Wrote.
No, not Murder, She Wrote. Murderville on Netflix. It's got... I'm trying to think of the guy's name. I'm bringing it. Will Arnett. So each week, Will Arnett he's a detective, and he gets a brand new colleague, like co-detective, but it is a random actor, actress, sports figure, and it's all improv. So they have a script they're trying to fill from A to Z, and then it's like a murder mystery. And then the person who's the secondary person, which was I'm trying to think, like, I think Marshawn Lynch was one of them. Marshawn Lynch, Ken Jeong, Conan O'Brien, Kumail Nanjiani. And then at the end, they're trying to solve the murder based on all the clues given by all of the other improv and actors and stuff. So like the detectives don't get like a script or anything, and yeah, it's definitely a fun little show. I did see, however, if you want something a little dark, Yellow Jackets. That is the girls' high school soccer team plane crash show. It's based in the 90s, and They flash back to the 90s, to the crash, to modern day what's going on. But yeah, that's another great show. So nice. That's what I'm watching. And then Barry's the newer episodic show that's out now. That's with Bill Hader as a serial killer. Oh my God, what's the Fonz's real name? Why can't I think of it?
The Fonz. Oh my God,
Henry
I can't
Winkler?
think of it either. Yeah, Henry Winkler. Yeah,
he's in it.
I have another one.
What's up?
That I totally watched. It was only like one season, but it was The Outlaws. Have you guys seen that one?
Mm-mm.
I have not.
So it was originally on the BBC, and I think I saw it on Netflix. I was trying to look it up, and I screwed up the video, but it's so campy. It's not campy, but like, the wit is so funny. It's hilarious, man. I loved it. It's got Christopher Walken in it, and it was really good. It's a quick watch. You can finish it in a weekend, and it's totally worth the watch.
Well, I will add it to the list of things to check out. Another one, just because I want to give a shout out because I love it, and I don't know if anybody else is. Atlanta is so fucking good.
Atlanta's a good show. FX puts out good shows. They really do.
Yeah.
And they announced they're doing a reboot of Justified too. I mean, if you watch Snowfall, that's another good one. They constantly put out good shows.
Well, that's going to do it. The news segment with a little extra at the end. My name is Ken. We have Dan and Wendy joining us tonight. Of course, find us on all of our social medias. Better on Draft on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Of course, TikTok. Come see our videos. Check us out. Subscribe, like, whatever the fuck you do on TikTok. I don't know. Double tap it for the heart. And point to the plus. Oh, wrong way. Point to the plus sign. If you're listening to the podcast, check out the YouTube. If you're watching the YouTube, go check out the podcast. That's going to do it for the news segment. April 29th, 2022. We are off next week. See you in 2 weeks. And no matter what you think of your beer, we think it's better on draft. Have a good night.
Oh, my blunt.